Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Gulfstream. Today, Ron Nicoletti, along with Ashley Mayu. It is a beautiful day in South Florida. Fast main track, firm turf course this afternoon. Seems that the humidity is down a little bit over the last couple of days. Ashley, I know you walking the dog this morning. You had a good time with it.
I mean, it was a good walk minus the ducks and the iguanas that are out there, and we chased them. But the weather has been, as you mentioned, a lot cooler. I mean, the temperature is still in the 80s nonetheless, but when the humidity is gone, it's more enjoyable.
Well, we got a fast main track from turf course, so it's going to be a great day of racing. But before we get into it, first we wanted to check out the Stronach 5. And what happened very rarely this time, our race was the long shot at $37.40, the number 11. The rest were pretty formful, and this thing paid $12,300.
Really helps when you don't get those horses in that $3 to $4 range, right? You see the lowest payout, the 5, then you mentioned the 37. Even the first leg at Pimlico certainly made that ticket, and that's now 2 weeks in a row with some extreme payouts in the Stronach 5.
Yeah, $12,000 plus, always good. And because of that upset in race number 9 at Gulfstream Park, we got about $6,000 in the super high 5 pool. So we got good carryovers going on today going into the day. And, of course, a little later on, we got the Rainbow 6, and we bumped it up to $250,000 jackpot guarantee today. So lots of ways to make money. And with that said, I know you got an early pick 5 ticket. Let's help me get some money so I can play later.
Yeah, we got some bankroll left over from Thursday, so hopefully we get another good payout today. I went 3 deep in the opener. It's 12-5 Maidens on the dirt. I used the number 3 in here. Here comes the bullet. The number 4, Macho Real, as well as the number 9, Divert, who's my top selection. Race 2 is another race that I spread. I didn't really have opinion in this 1 mile turf event, so I used the number 1, Zero Gravity, the number 2, 24-7, who I think is going to close from off the pace and might get a decent tempo in that race, as well as the number 7, Financial System. Race 3, just 2 deep in there. Use the number 2, Cozy Cafe, and the 7, Lunar Blast, as well as 2 horses in race 4. And then in race 5, I was between using 2 or 3 horses. I thought I was pretty confident in here using the number 6, Libro, and the number 5, What a Beaut for Mark Cassie. So I just went 2 deep in that last leg to keep my ticket at my magic number of $36.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So you had a good day the other day. What did it pay? Like $400 or $500, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it was like $550 or something, so I was happy with that.
$550, so that's pretty good. So you got some bucks to play with a little later on this afternoon. Let's take a look at this first race. It's 7 furlongs on the main track. It's 3-year-olds and up. 12,000. Scratch all the altos, 13 down to 16. And like you, I had Divert on my ticket. Before we get in, we'll go back and show you this horse's last race. I'm going to pick it up from the top of the stretch home. When he finishes, I thought ran pretty well here. I like to turn back to 7 furlongs. This race, as you can see, was going longer. And I just thought this horse ran well. And comes up, and you're going to see as the stretch comes up, gets beat by a horse that came back and won again. So we'll see how this horse runs this afternoon. That's Stone Feeling, who was a bit of a price that day. So I just thought that these two ran well, and I think the turn back for Divert is going to be key for this horse.
I think the big thing, too, I liked about that last performance you mentioned, it was a mile. The cutback should help. But compared to his other 2 prior performances, he was right there. He was only beaten by 3 1/4. I think when you look at the race on April 8th and March 5th, you might say, wow, he was defeated by 10 lengths, by 15. But he had to face 2 runaway winners. Flamingo Hawk, 3 starts back, won by 11. And then 2 starts back, Comiskey Park was 10 lengths clear, just faced 2 really tough runners. And last time out, he certainly held his own, had some early speed in that race and sat just off the pace. So I love him on the cutback as well.
Well, the number 3, Here Comes Bullock, is changing barns today, going to the Victor Barboza Jr. barn after the claim. So you have to pay attention to that.
Yeah, I have a stat here. We look at some of these stats, they're big sample sizes. This isn't a big sample size, but the numbers don't lie here. It's always interesting when horses claim maidens, especially kind of at this lower level at that 12-5 tag. So with maidens first off the claim the last 5 years, he's claimed 7 horses. You can see he's won with 4 of them. Next time out, 57%, he's 6 for 7, 86% in the money with a $3.31 ROI. So, big numbers here. I really think this horse, just even on his form, if you look at that race 2 back, certainly fits this spot and is a major player.
Yeah, last time he showed speed and called it a day when facing similar, but that was going 8. I think another horse that's going to appreciate the turn back. We get the same trying here with the 4, Macho Real. Now on the 1, see Avila Bar, and this one, Gelding drops a notch. A duel throughout, finished 3rd against 16 maidens. What I liked about this horse, to put on my try, ran okay at this 7 furlong distance, which I find as a niche distance or a unique distance for horses. Not quite a mile, not quite quite a sprint.
In his last two races, they really haven't been bad. Two back was on the turf and a $25,000 tag. You mentioned last time out it was a good effort, $16,000. So he's dropping in for the lowest tag of his career. He's rejoining a barn that he was once in the fall of 2020. He had two on the board finishes at the $50,000 maiden claiming level. So I think here is a chance for him to kind of shine and step up.
Let's go to race number 2. We're on the turf, a mile on the turf. These are claimers 3 and up, $16,000. Got a couple of scratches. The main track only 3, and the number 4. And as like you did, I had a little trouble with this race trying to figure it out, and I ended up going with the number 5, Uncork the Bottle, and I'll tell you why. 3 for 5 in the money at a mile on the turf, which I like. Drops, adds blinkers today. Stepped up off the claim and finished 4th against 4 rivals. That was their 35 optional claimer going 6 on the dirt. Liz Dobles has J.C. Diaz Jr. handling the surface, which I just went back and looked at this horse. I was sort of confused, and I think maybe this horse with its previous record on the grass might be able to spring a little bit of an upset.
Well, it might give you some confidence, not maybe myself. I had him written down and then crossed him out from my top 4. I just thought, looking at some of his dirt races, he had faced tougher. 2 starts back, he was in for that $16,000 tag when he was claimed out of that race. And he was doing so well on the dirt that I see the surface change. And Safi kept him on the dirt for a while at Tampa and one coming here. So I really wasn't sure what to make out of it. I saw the record here at at Gulfstream, just 1 for 3 on the board with that second place finish over the turf course. So I decided to toss him. But you're right. If you go down the page, when he was on the turf too, he was facing tougher competition.
Yeah, and I mean, the logical one in here is the horse that you have on top, Zero Gravity. He's the morning line favorite. With the turn back to the mile, rallied 5 wide to come within the nose of defeating those claimers last time out for Jose Gallegos. Paco Lopez, pretty good day yesterday.
Very good day for Paco yesterday. I think if you like the 1-0 Gravity, and you look at his races, he closes from off the pace. Last time out, he's in that 12-5 race where you picked your long shot. Philo got the job done by the slimmest of noses as we watched that race together. It was a big performance from him. It was better than the start that we saw 2 back, so the class relief sort of helped him there. I think if you like Zero Gravity, though, you probably like 24/7, who you use a little higher than, we use him in the same spot, but you use this one over the horse to his inside.
Yeah, stepping up to face open competition, made that 4-wide rally going a mile. 4, Safi, boy. Safi's been just going great guns, winning both here and up in New York. Miguel Vasquez, one of my favorite riders here, will be in the saddle. Race 3 this afternoon. We're back on the dirt. 6 furlongs, maiden claimers, fillies, mares 3 and up. $20,000, clean slate, 8 runners in the field. Looks like number 2, Cozy Cafe, is pretty good in this spot.
Just a huge class drop coming out of that maiden special weight event. Was all the way back in January, so we haven't seen this filly in some time, but that performance really left a lot to be desired. Kind of go down the page. Her best races so far have been the first 2 starts in her career, the debut, and then she did actually step up a little bit in terms of numbers and finish in her second start back in October. So hopefully she just needed some time off. The barn does well with this sort of angle, maiden special weight to maiden claiming. The angle, though, that I didn't love the most is the long layoff is a little bit, that 60 to 180 days. They're not the strongest angle, but she seems to be training well since that most recent effort.
Yeah, Eddie Pleaser Jr. just been a mainstay here in South Florida over the years. Who's riding? Paco Lopez. Luna Blast drops a notch and turns back to 3/4 today. Return from the layoff, duel throughout, finished second for Rohan Crichton. Jose Morelos atop the 1. I thought the 1, when you do the race, is the 1 to beat in here. And I was going to use the 2, but I think the 7, for what it's done lately, is the 1 to beat.
I couldn't toss either of these. That's why I used them both in that early pick 5, because I think if you're talking about recent performances, this one raced off the layoff May 7th. It was a pretty good effort going 6.5. Had to kind of battle it out, as you mentioned, dueled all the way around at 6.5, and the race set up nicely for these speed horses. But now the slight cutback, I think, should even be a little bit better for her.
Yeah, and I used Defended in 3rd, just the first time for David Falk, sort of piqued my interest. Edwin Gonzalez back riding again today, threw that 1 on the ticket.
Yeah, going to come from that race out of Tampa. You mentioned new barn and blinkers on, but I like that this one last time out did show some early foot going 6.5 at Tampa.
Let's go to race 4. This one a mile. The starter optional claimer, 4-year-olds are up. Started for 8 less, or the optional claiming price of $16,000. 7 in this field with no scratches or jockey changes. And I'm going to start it off with the number 3, Joe DiMaggio, one of my favorite names, especially if you're an old Yankee fan with Joe DiMaggio, which I wasn't, but I like the name of the horse. Well, this one is dropping to the $16,000 level, stretching out to the mile. Finished second against 35 optional claimers going 6. For Carlos David, who's 28% with the sprint to root angle. So I sort of lean that way and trying to beat the favorite in here, Trapezoid, who had a tough trip last time out.
When you look at Joe DiBaggio's races 2 and 3 back, didn't have like a late punch. You know, he faced well-defined 2 starts back, who has been pretty solid since then. But I think the big thing is last time out, I liked that this horse was able to close. I just wasn't sold on the distance. I think last race maybe suggests longer would be better, but still 0 for 2 at the mile distance over the dirt. So for me, I'm between the 1 and the 2. I know you use both of these. I think you can kind of make a case for either of them. For me, though, Trapezoid, you mentioned that trip last time out. Stumbled at the start, not ideal, and that kind of crushed the win streak for him at that 1 mile distance. He was going for 3 in a row, still a game second behind Mustang Cat, who draws to his outside today.
Well, Mustang Cat, it saw Peter Walder this morning, said, boy, you think Trapezoid can maybe break a little slow again this time out? Because Trapezoid was the one to beat that day, but got, stumbled at the start. He held off, and Trapezoid was closing, as you mentioned, Miguel Vasquez in the saddle. So race number 5 this afternoon. We're back on the turf. I like this race this afternoon, betting-wise. It's a mile on the turf. Claimers, fillies 3, or fillies advanced 4 and up, which have never won 3 races, or never won 3 races in life. Scratch the main track only, number 8 in here. And you went with the number 5 horse in here. This horse I did not use.
Using What a Beaut for Mark Casse, who's been on kind of a roll here the last week and a half here in South Florida. This one's 2 for 7 here. So both those wins have come here over the turf course. Last time out was facing $35,000 claimers going a mile on the turf. That was the first start off a bit of a freshening and didn't really perform well, but took a lot of play. I just think when you go to some of those earlier races, even 3 starts back, was a nice win here. Even that first start off that year layoff, just over a year layoff, wasn't that bad. So I'm just hoping that she needed a race last time out after having a couple months off. And you can see this one went to the Cassie Training Center and did have a bullet 2 back.
I went with the 6, the horse you have in second, Lee Rowe, who's now in the Mike Lerman bond. This is a daughter of Lee, cuts back to the mile. First start since finishing 3rd. That was in front of a pair of next out winners, so it turned out to be a pretty good race. It was a 25 starter allowance going a mile in the 16th. It was back during March. Once again, Paco Lopez. Looks like Paco and I are going to need winners today to have a good day. I got him somewhere on my ticket, it seems, in the first 5 races. I thought this was a major player going to the Mike Lerman bond.
Yeah, this is when I also I had to use this filly in here. She is kind of facing some, when you look at the field as a whole, a little bit more accomplished in terms of the races and minor placings. But the big thing with her is a consistency thing. She's consistently almost always there. My concern with that, though, is she going to pick up that win this year? You see in her performances, she's needed a little more left in the tank late. But you see a rider change, a barn change. Who knows what can happen?
I sort of doing some guesswork with both my horses in second and third. You have one in third, and that's Henny Penny, who's stretching out to the mile. Trio of solid performances going 5 furlongs for Kathleen. She's pretty good. She's like 25% with 2 sprints to a route. MCL Jaramillo. And same with Charlotte the Brit, who I threw on the ticket, who is, 2-time winner at the distance, stretching out. So I sort of liked the 6, and behind it, I just was confused and took a horses that I thought maybe on the stretch out would run okay.
It is a challenging race because I think when you look at Henny Penny, a horse that I use in the 3rd spot, this is another one that's very similar to Lero, in my opinion, just maybe a length behind Lero in the sense that this one is always knocking at the door of rounding out the try or getting up for the exacta. In the last couple starts has been 4th or 3rd every single time at that 5 furlong distance. Now the big thing is Henny Penny's going to stretch out to a mile today, so it'll be a test for her. She's only gone a mile once. That was 4 starts back. She didn't show much in that occasion, but who knows what can happen here. It's only her 2nd time going a mile.
Let's go to race number 6. First of 2 stakes races on the card, a mile, 3-year-olds and up, $60,000. The name of the race is The Name's Jimmy. I looked up The Name's Jimmy. I remember this horse was an Illinois bred. I don't think it ever won at Gulfstream Park, so it must be some fan in the racing office of Chicago and Arlington Park in here. But that said, boy, can't wait to see Noble Drama come back.
Noble's drama, just when you look from a number standpoint and the accomplishments he's had, he's a 7-time winner from 25. He's ran some huge races under his belt. We haven't seen him since January, so the layoff is always something to consider. But you can see those 3 published works. They've all been sharper. They've each gotten a little bit better in the morning. I just think looking at the races he's coming out of, he should be really tough in here.
Yeah, I don't know what the stats say, but David knows how to bring these horses back. David Forks, I'm talking about. He's really good with this horse. Can't wait to see him. He's a hard-knocking 6-year-old that we really like around here. I see you got Our Nation on parade in second. I had this one a little further down the third. Stretching out today to the mile with the speed, I think is going to show speed here. We're going to go back and show you. I thought it was a real good race last time out. We're going to pick it up from the 8th pole home for this horse. Now coming off the pace at 3/4 of a mile, but the horse in front, Christo Sky, is a pretty hard-knocking horse. Came back and won a couple of stakes. So I thought Our Nation on parade showed a lot of guts. If you look at the speed in this race, there's not that much. Maybe with the stretch out, if not on the lead, maybe in the first first flight with Our Nation on Parade.
You mentioned last time out at the 6 furlong distance, they went very quick in there, and this one was able to get the job done. As expected, was favored. You've also mentioned the distance. That's 6 furlongs. We're going a mile today. It's a different game. You've seen in some of his races, he's tried to sit off the pace. It hasn't fared well. So I do think he'll be forwardly placed. And I think, looking at this field, that certainly could be to his benefit. And now I'm relying on Paco in here. Paco Lopez is climbing aboard, piloted this one to the win last time out. So interesting to see him here. 2 of his 3 lifetime wins have come here. And, look at his last couple races. He's been quite strong.
Well, number 2, Kanani, I know you have a list of horses that if you bet them, they lose. If you don't bet them, they win. Kanani has been the bane of my existence for a long time. 10-time local winner, 13-time winner at the distance, wheels back. After back-to-back second place finishes behind Tune Up, a horse that seemed to have its number in the last couple of races. I remember a couple of races back, everybody liked this horse, and I'm up here saying, how could they like this horse? What'd it do? Win. So they're one of those horses I'm putting on my ticket.
Yeah, you don't want to be left out on this one. I use this horse underneath. I mean, he's a really hard-trying horse. You see that from his record here. A 10-time winner from 45 starts over the dirt, and he's been in the money over 25 of his races here. Now, the interesting thing, I think, looking at his past performances really shows that these horses always kind of face off each other, and it's just who's kind of better on that day, gets the better trip, gets the pace set up. And you can see he's beaten, actually, Noble Drama in the past. They've turned the tables on each other. Last time out, he was a nice third. Tune In just in that spot was a really fierce competitor who I think went off favored, whereas in 2 starts back, the horse was 10-1. So people kind of caught on to that train. But 2 solid back-to-back efforts for him. I just used him for a minor share.
Yeah, maybe I didn't respect the pro quality enough. I got it back and forth. You got it in the third. I think this one is second on the morning line. I thought a logical contender in here. I just had to put Kanani in second for that reason, but I could understand using the 3.
Lightly raced, 8 starts under his belt, 3 wins, a second, and 2 thirds. Really great record, especially here at the distance. You can see his last 2 wins. They've been in a row. They've been here at a mile, and he's another one. I think he's going to be part of that early pace scenario. We really saw that 2 starts back when he was sitting off just off the leader and kind of dueling later in the race at a quick pace. So I think pro quality and the number 6, Our Nation Parade, they might lock up early.
Okay, let's take a short break. When we come back, I'll have my Rainbow 6 ticket. I think it's 43.20. Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Ron and Ashley. Race 7 is a mile on the turf. Maiden Claimers. 3 and up, $12,500. Let's take a look at my Rainbow 6 ticket. Only 2 deep here in the opening leg with the 7 Lazaretto from Safi Joseph and the 11 Not So Easy. We had a late scratch of the number 3 late this morning. I mean, not just immediately, but we did want to have a little earlier. So I had that horse. I changed my picks around a little bit. Only 2 deep in race number 7. 2 deep in race number 8. I think that Omega Moon is the one to beat for Louis Roussel, who's been on fire. Got lots of coverage all the way down. You get to the other stake race today, race number 11. And I just thought Caribou Club had a big shot in there with Mercedes Boy trying the turf again. And going back to race 10, tonalist shape, not a good workhorse, but what a horse that is. A lot of people are going to be thinking of singling that horse. $43.20 for me.
We're on the same page, I guess. At least I have one of your horses in every race of that late pick 4, but we kind of go in different directions a little bit. But you mentioned race 10. You spread in there, even though tonalist shape's coming off that layoff. It's a great betting race, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just think that, we'll see how that horse runs coming back. There's race 7, as I mentioned, mile on the turf. Maiden Claim is 3 and up. And I did go, and you did too, with number 7, Lazaretto, who's dropping to the 12.5 level. Yielded late to finish second against those 16 maidens going a mile last time out. Edwin Gonzalez, for Sappy Joseph Jr. Lots to like with the number 7.
A lot to like, I think, when you look at that most recent performance. Obviously, his best so far, first time on the turf, on the stretch out. So it was a lot of changes for him. It was a drop in class. He handled it all well. Now he's in for the 12-5 tag, so he's dropping even a little bit lower. But the big thing, too, is when you look at that most recent race, the number stands out. A 63 buyer is probably the best in the field, and I think it is by quite a lot. So I think anything close to that most recent performance puts him in the winner's circle.
Well, yeah, after that 7 horse in here, you can go a couple of different ways. I see you did go with the outside horse, number 12, who will be breaking from post 11 this afternoon.
You look at the barn with maiden second start, it's 11%. It's not a great number. It's not a bad number by any means, but kind of looking at the workout since that effort, they have worked him once, and I did like the breeze in terms of time, 48-4. That was at Palm Meadows, going 4 furlongs on the turf. And in his debut, I mean, he didn't take a lot of play. I think that's always a little bit of a tell. I just think maybe he needed a race under his belt, and so now he's going to make his second start. I'm going to use him in here. I just think the barn's been on a roll. I mentioned that earlier in one of the races, so I can't leave him off my tickets. But you go to the horse just to his inside, the 11, Not So Easy, another horse that I use.
Yeah, the Mark Cassie barn is like that, but when they get hot, they stay hot for a while, so we'll see how that runs. I did go with the number 11, Not So Easy. He's another one that's going to drop a notch on the claiming scale after closing to finish 4th against those 60 maidens. That was going 8 furlongs last time out for Kathleen O'Connell. Miguel Vasquez in the irons this afternoon. Glad to see you have this one on your ticket.
Yeah, I think that third place finish last time out was certainly a step up. The number was the same as 2 starts back, going 7.5, but seemed to appreciate a little bit of class relief and extra ground. And another one that's taking just a little bit lower of a class drop today. And the connections here, they win at about 8% at Gulfstream Park, but total 14%. So they do well together. Miguel Vasquez, he's also been doing quite well here at Gulfstream as of recent, too.
Let's go to race number 8, a mile claimer, 3-year-olds or 4 and up who have not won 3 in life, $6,250 is where late pick 5 is going to start. And boy, Omega Moon is dropping to this level today of $6,250. Looks awful tough for trainer Louis Roussel. I don't know, do people single this horse in like the late pick 5 of the Rainbow Six? I went a little deeper in here. I just thought Omega Moon was clearly the one to beat.
He's clearly the one to beat. That was at the $16,000 level last time out, going a mile, and he finished third. I mean, it kind of was an even performance all the way around the racetrack. But you mentioned, do you single him? I don't think so, just because it's 6250 claimers. We talk about this every time we handicap one of these races. It's just it's a tough thing. Even though the horse is getting class relief, there are still other horses in here that, for some reason, they may fire today. And from here, you can see we're kind of a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, you have number 6 and second, Ton of Gold, which I can understand a little further down on my ticket.
Last time out at the mile and at this level, I just felt like the trip that he got, he finished a decent third, but he was chasing throughout. And I don't think that was ideal, because when you kind of go down the page and look at some of his other races, he hasn't had to chase so hard from third. He's either been closer to the pace or tried to close from off the pace, and he's fared better. So I'm just wondering if a different pace scenario and a different trip will suit him better. He is getting a new rider today.
Well, you talk about these horses that take chances beating each other. Some just cannot get to the winner's circle. That's sort of the case with the 2 St. Leonard, hoping for hoping for a little more firepower in the stretch run after coming close finally to notching that elusive third career victory when second was only beaten a length at this level and distance. So my thought is that maybe this one has figured out how to get that next win and can run well in this spot.
He seems to like the mile distance as of recent more better. More, I should say. No, more better is not the right grammar. But when you look at him in general, 7 starts, got a win in 2 seconds. But he's coming into this race off his best of this year. I mean, this is only on the board finish from 6 starts. And he seems, as you mentioned, to have figured it out. He took a little bit more play last time out compared to 2 starts back at that 6.5. And Rene Diaz has been aboard in both of those most recent starts. So I do prefer him at the mile distance. I like that he's staying at it, but I just have my reservations. So underneath is all I can use him for.
Well, we'll go to race number 9. And if they check in Grammy, have you parking cars, I wouldn't be on TV. I'll tell you that right now. So the 9th race is a mile on the turf. Starter allowance, fillies and mares 4 and up, started for $16,000 or less. Scratch the 1, scratch the 4, got the late pick 4. You've been doing exceptionally well with your tickets. Well, $16, I can afford that.
I changed this. Yeah, I went on the cheaper side. Usually it's that 24 or 27. Today I went with 16. Just in this first leg, I used 2 horses. I used the number 8, Jabuticaba, and the number 9, Sugar Fix. I think it's hard to tell right now who will go off favorite. I have a feeling maybe Sugar Fix, just on some class relief coming out of 3 or 4, I should say, back-to-back stakes tries. Race 10, I go 2 deep in here. I know you like the number 3, Tonalist Shape, rightfully so, coming out of some graded stakes competition. And I actually went with the number 1, Saguaro Row, as my top pick in here, coming out of the Grade 2 Ruffian at Belmont Park. Race 11, I had no idea, so I just used all 4 horses that I wrote down. I used the number 3, Our Mercedes Boy, who's coming into this race off a second-place finish on the dirt in the big drama, now getting back onto the turf course. I'll use the number 4, Yes, I Am Free, the number 6, Old Chestnut, and the 7, Caribou Club, who's just always been that hard-knocking, graded stakes competition sort of horse who I haven't seen in just about a year. And then finally in race 12, I should say, I used the number 2, Awesome Ella, who's getting some class relief out of a maiden special weight event, now in for the $16,000 tag, but also used one of the runners on the outside, the number 12, Vianney, who's a little bit of a price at 6-1 morning line.
Well, I think you got the logical two in here. Let's start it off with the number 9, Sugar Fix, who's dropping to the 16 level, starter allowance level after facing stakes competition in 4 consecutive races, which includes that second place finish in the Claiming Crown Tiara during our 2020 campaign. Safi Edgard, 7-time turf winner. I think that race up in Tampa, you see how this horse runs today. Looks like a major player in here.
It just making that second start since mid-January and took some play last time out, but just really didn't fire much. Didn't have any late kick in the stretch there at Tampa, but even go to that race 2 starts back here. Finished 5th, just beaten by 3/4 of a length. A very narrow margin was the pace setter in there. It'll be interesting to see, I think, what they do with her, just looking at her, because she does have the ability to kind of win in gate-to-wire fashion. She's done that. She's closed from off the pace, so she is versatile and certainly should step up making that second start off the layoff.
Well, I see you went with the number 8 in here, Japuti Cabo, who's trying to make it 3 in a row. She's used her speed to win back-to-back races. Jenna Antonucci really has this horse firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, 2 big buyers, too, an 80 and an 82 most recently, and I think has beaten several in here, and I think that's why we both use this one in the top 2, just has kind of held her own against these other competitors. For me, there's no doubt about it. She's probably going to the front. Unlike Sugar Fix, I don't know what they'll do with the outside draw, second start, who knows? They have more options. Jabuti Caba's got to be forwardly placed, I think, to be involved, and everything's been going right so far, so I'm going to give her the nod and see if we can make it 3 in a row.
Well, you're talking about speed here with Sugar Fix, Japuti Caba. Maybe it sets up for a horse like looking like a queen who's dropping to this level, made a move to get the lead before settling for second. Let's go back and show you this race. I thought it was a pretty good performance for a trainer, Bobby DeBoner, claimed her 2 starts back. And there you see her. I think she makes a nice move up the rail. I thought this was going to, produce positive results, let's say a winner, but couldn't, get our Callie Kim. Finishes second as the favorite that day, was 8-5. Had all these horses running. I just thought maybe this one can sit a trip behind the speed today. Ends up just holding on to finish second. They just came all flying at the end. Went pretty quick in that race early on. She really was up against it, turning for home. I think they went the half in 46 or something like that.
Yeah, kind of entering, the stretch run there. She did look like a winner. She did. It's just that our Callie Kim just had that really late acceleration towards the outside, splitting between horses. I think this is one that you're correct in the sense that should get the perfect trip. Won't be too far back, won't be on the lead, but should get a nice trip. And last 3-4 races, they've been quite strong.
Well, a horse that we all know around here is going to be in race number 10, 7 furlongs, allowance optional claimant, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up at the optional claiming price of $62,500. And I'm alluding to Totally Shape. And we're going to go back and rewind something. And I'm going to show you this horse winning the Grade 3 Forward Girl. And the reason I'm showing this, it was at this 7 furlong distance. I'm going to see her now, Totally Shape. And also, it was the first start off a layoff. And this horse was 1-5. And this is when this horse was going great guns. This one won the Grade 2 Devona Dale, the Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Oaks. Was 5th in the Grade 2 Raven Run at Keeneland. 6-time, just a classy daughter of Totalists. And I just think this one, if they come back now, we've known this for a while. This is not a good workhorse in the morning. So our office talking to Safi Joseph Jr., he says she's been working okay, but you don't really know till she's on the track. Is she going to come back and run well?
Well, the rate play that you showed, that's kind of when the hype started around her, right? Tonalist Shape became kind of like a household name at the racetrack. And then next time out, the Devona Dale. She wins the Grade 2. She goes off favorite in the Gulfstream Park Oaks, and Swiss Skydiver beats her. We know what Swiss Skydiver won the Preakness and beat the boys there. But, she came back after that effort, which was lackluster, to win, rightfully so, in a spot that she probably should have won, and she did it easily. But I think her last couple races, they've traveled her around, and I think she's getting back onto a track where certainly proven 5 for 6 over the main track.
Well, I want to hear about Saguaro Row, a horse they did not use. And right up there, this one is like third choice on the line. Did I miss this one?
When you look at her races in 2019 and 2020, I certainly think that puts her as a contender here when she won at Aqueduct. Yes, that was in January 2020 when she won the Interborough, but she did it easily. Then after that, they tried her in the Barbara Fritchie, the Garland of Roses. Not great efforts. I thought the next time she was in the Interborough again was a good third. She closed from off the pace, beaten by a length and a quarter. She moved to a new barn. They only had her for a little bit now after she was sold at a sale. Her first start here, it was an okay third. She faced Sound Machine, Pacific Gale, and I just honestly think last time out going the mile in the Ruffian, she's a little outclassed in that Grade 2 event. It was a pretty stacked field in that sense. So this is some class relief from her. I think she's going to like the cut back, and she certainly established herself as a 7 furlong horse when you look at her record. She's 5 for 7 in the money at 7 furlongs.
Yeah, trained by Ken Sweezy. Once again, ridden by Paco Lopez. Could have 95 winners today, it looks like. Number 5, Sona, is stretching out to the 7/8 after rallying to finish second. It was against this type of competition. Boy, I learned very quickly early on when Carlos David showed up here in South Florida. You got to use him on your tickets. Got Christian Torres back in town. He's going to be in the saddle today.
I think this one's going to sit right off the pace, maybe in second or third early on, not giving the pace setter much of a lead in here. Was a decent second last time out, beat a horse in here. And I didn't like the performance in the Hurricane Birdie, but was certainly forwardly placed, and they went a decent clip. And I think they should have for that kind of caliber. But you've mentioned the barn is one you can't ignore here. They do great work. And, I think she's a filly facing some more accomplished mares, but I thought she could still get a piece in here.
Let's go to race number 11. This is the co-feature event on the day. 5 furlongs on the turf, 3-year-olds and up $60,000. It is the Sunny Odds, going to scratch both inside horses, number 1 and number 2. And you started it off with the number 4, Yes I Am. And also in this race is the number 6 horse, Old Chestnut. Let's go back and watch. They had a pretty game performance last time out fighting each other. You're going to see Yes I Am Free is on the lead right there. And then you see Old Chestnut being the 6 horse that day. And it was a pretty good performance right to the wire. And you can make a case that maybe Old Chestnut ran a little bit better than Yes I Am Free.
Yeah, and they end up having a throwdown here late in those last couple jumps to the wire. You can see Old Chestnut 6-1. Yes, I Am Free was 2-1, kind of co-favored in there, but still was making up that ground late. And I think it was hard for me to distinguish between the two in some regard based on that performance. Yes, I Am Free raced on the 15th of April, where actually Old Chestnut, we have seen one more time since then on the dirt, though, in that compact field. And I don't think he really wanted to be on the dirt in that race. He only had one dirt start before that. So I agree. I think you can maybe make a case for Old Chestnut, but the connections are going to try it here in this competition for the number 4, Yes I Am Free, because they claimed this one off of Mark Casse in that most recent start.
Well, I went with the number 7 Caribou Club, who's a Grade 3 winner sprinting on the grass, which I like. I had to go back a little while to find that performance. This one is returning from the layoff and turning back to 5 panels with a pair of bullet workouts showing up on the Palm Meadows Turf for trainer Tommy Proctor, and he's pretty solid with this type of layoff. He does a good job, so I put this one on top of my ticket.
Speaking of this kind of layoff, I did some more digging, used the formulator, as I have so much fun with. I love doing this. It's like my math experiment every night. And in this case, I just wanted to see what he does with an 180-day plus layoff with that first start. And I just looked at the last 2 years. He's 6 for 18, 33%, 50% in the money with a $3.08 ROI. So great numbers. As we mentioned, we haven't seen this one in almost a month to a year to the date. And disappointed in that last effort. I thought 2 back was okay, though. I mean, it was 6 beaten by length and a half, but he's got so much back class on him. You can look down the page. He's a graded stakes winner, and he needed some time off, but those drills, they suggest he's ready to roll.
I really didn't know what to do with our Mercedes boy, but I didn't want to get beat by this horse. Going to try the turf again after back-to-back second-place finishes against those state-bred stake sprinters going longer on the dirt. Georgina Baxter, she's pretty solid with the dirt-to-turf angle. This one certainly has a touch of class.
Does have a touch of class. Last time out, I thought it was a game second behind Well Defined, even though Well Defined was clear of that short field. But the big thing with our Mercedes boy is, yes, you mentioned the turf will be the question. Only has that one start, and it was going a mile. So this is definitely a different ball game going 5 furlongs. He certainly likes sprinting. And you mentioned the barn, Georgina Baxter. Turf sprints, they're certainly her thing. Sprinting is definitely a great angle for her. So I think this horse is in a barn that knows what they're doing, making that surface switch.
Well, we get the same super up there, and you used all 4 on your ticket, so I'm feeling pretty confident that maybe we're going to get a winner out of that. The last race today, mile and 16th on the turf, maiden claim is fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, $16,000. I started looking for speed. I wanted to see who had the speed in here, and I came up with the number 10, our 10 Angels, is can turn out to me to be the controlling speed in the nightcap after tracking the pace and finishing third when dropped to this level for Jesus Lander. Emissy El Jaramillo atop this 3-year-old Oklahoma bred, a daughter of not this time. We don't see many Oklahoma breds around here. I couldn't find any of the speed unless I'm looking at this race wrong. And with Emissy El Jaramillo, I think he's just going to go or be in that, with the pace or on it and maybe can steal the nightcap.
You don't see Oklahoma breds, but the thing I also like seeing by Not This Time, who does great with these horses in general, but turf runners, and you've mentioned it. Speed is probably the thing you should be looking for. That's been the name of the game on the turf course here, and most recently, I think it's the horse's best effort. Had a 51 buyer. The two turf efforts actually she has both shown speed. So this might be your price play. I'll have to be watching the tote board to see if you get 6-1. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping it is in here. But the one to beat, with that said, is Orsamella, who's plunging to the 16 level today. Faced tougher in both local turf outings since returning from the West Coast. So for Bubby Hess Jr.
Those last two efforts, most recently, I didn't like that maiden special weight level for her. It was too tough. 2 starts back, though, was 4th, beaten by 2 lengths. But when you start talking about those races and you go back, I do think she's inconsistent. She has a good race. She has a bad race. Don't know what to expect of her. So if she's going to kind of turn that light bulb on, I hope the $16,000 level is what does it, because it is a significant drop in class from what we've seen from her other races. I mean, she's been in some tough waters.
When I was looking at this race, we got Orsamella, I got in second, but I thought maybe I kept going back to Starry Hope, the 6 horse, who I might be the one that ends up favored in here, is dropping to this level, stretching out today after a pair of solid efforts, really, against 25 maidens, going at about distance of 7.5 furlongs. Was the public choice last time out for owner-trainer Monica Majoy, and you'll have Jose Morelos in the saddle today.
I think looking at those last 2 races, I think the class relief should help. My concern was the 7.5 to a mile and a 16th, because I just think she really hasn't had a late punch. But I think it bodes well for her looking at the winners of her last 2 races have come back to win. 2 starts back. You see the winner, Kahiko, came back yesterday to win somehow. Got kind of a rough trip, but still got the job done, and probably would have been kind of pouring it on late with a different trip, but managed to get the win. And then more recently, Smooth Pebbles. So the competition's been tougher, and they've also fared well facing winners for the first time.
Well, that is how we see the 12 race card today. That's kicking off at 12:20 or thereabouts, but we're not done. We have our lightning round, and just got some information. We're going to start the lightning round off. We're going to have a special holiday week of racing next week. We're not live for live racing on Thursday. We're going to run from Friday, May 28th, and we'll be here on Memorial Day.
Yeah, different schedule, but it's great because if you have off on the holiday, you can still come to the races and enjoy your day off here. So I always like the holiday weekends at the racetrack. It's something I look forward to.
So mark that down, Friday through Monday next week. And we started our summer Friday post times of 2 p.m. I got a twilight card for the summer here, and that's each and every Friday. Yeah,
that's another good idea. I always feel like, people that try to sneak out of work a little bit earlier on a Friday, maybe at 4 o'clock, they can still get over here and maybe catch the last 5 races or so.
Well, a horse that's coming back tomorrow that I've been dying to see. This horse was the talk of the town. I'm alluding to Chanted, a multiple stakes winner, going to return from a 14-month layoff. So we're going to go back and show you this horse. This is the horse winning the $400,000 in reality division of the Florida Sire Stakes. Hasn't been in around in a while. Been working very well. And I mean, this horse, if you just go through this horse's past performance, this was quite a horse. I mean, coming off the layoff, I'm excited to see how this horse runs.
Layoff's always a question, but you showed a replay that I think is great. Was much the best in that race. But you could see so confident the horse was crossing the wire. The ears were pricked forward. You can see that this horse has some tremendous talent. So we'll see what the layoff ended up doing and see if this one just kind of gets that win right off the belt.
Was this far from sweeping the Florida Sire Stakes Series. Got beat second by a head on a rough trip in there last time out, and it came back and proved that this horse can really run. You could see the rest of the performances by this horse. We had a 2-year-old yesterday in the first race, Roman Poet, and everybody was talking about how good this horse looked prior to the race. Actually got the award as the best turned out horse, and boy, he ran exceptionally well. This is Roman Poet for Gilberto Zerpa.
We always talk about Gilberto Zerpa, but wasn't sure we talk about him winning a 2-year-old race. But to see that, pretty impressive, and beat some a heavy favorite in there. Wesley Ward sent out 2 runners in there, finished second with a 3-5 shot. So very easy win in the end of things.
Yeah, and just was impressive to me and looked the part. Certainly looked the best of all the horses in there. If you love horse racing, want to just throw this out there every once in a while. If you love horse racing, maybe you can find time to donate to the Florida track. Just a great performance. Here you see 29-year-old Pleasantry on her journey to a perfect retirement. If you love to bet these horses, they're just fantastic animals. If you find it somewhere, a couple extra bucks, especially if Ashley hits her early pick 5 today, I know she's going to throw a couple of bucks that way.
Florida Track, they do tremendous work in terms of fans or people that bet on the sport. Obviously, donations are certainly appreciated when people can make them. Our horsemen here love that a lot of them participate and donate horses that are looking for a softer landing, or they're looking for that second career that they can take off in. They'll give their horses to Florida Track. And hey, if you're in the market for a horse, we got a bunch that you can adopt. So there's a little bit for everyone.
Yeah, so it's a great cause, especially if you love horse racing. So that's it for us. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Pete Aiello. He's going to give you all the scratches and changes you need to have a winning day here at beautiful Gulfstream Park.